Way number 35, Ohev Satochachos, love rebuke. What is it about rebuke that makes a person wise? Well, the verse in Mishlei chapter 9 verse 8 says, Al tochach leitz pen yisnaeka, hocheach lachacham v'yahevka. If you give rebuke to a scoffer, if you give rebuke to a jokester, they're not going to appreciate it. As the verse says, they're going to even hate you, because they don't take life seriously, and a person who brings constructive criticism to their front door is a person they want to shut the door on. I'm upset with you for bringing that up. Hocheach lechacham v'yahevka. Give rebuke to a wise person and they'll love you, because a wise person wants wisdom. They understand that on their own they're not going to understand all of their faults. As the Talmud Shabbat says, a person cannot perceive all of his faults, and therefore they're going to depend on others to bring up with constructive criticism areas that they can improve upon. And a wise person will say, thank you so much for bringing that to my attention, because I want to get better, I want to improve. Understanding rebuke also helps when it comes to studying, because when a person loves rebuke, when they arrive at a certain passage in the Talmud or the Chumash or whatever they're studying, they're going to apply it to themselves, and they're going to ask themselves, how am I doing in this particular area? Is this verse rebuking me about a particular way that I'm living my life? And if it is, I've got to take it to heart and make a change. And similarly, when they hear it from their rabbis, from their teachers, they're going to similarly take that constructive criticism or pointing out flaws in a positive sense, and they're going to use it to change their life. As a teacher, Ohev Satochachos, loving rebuke, also points out that it's our job as rabbis and as teachers, and we're all, if we have children, teachers, because we have to teach our children. We know that it's part of our job not just to be friends with people, but also to point out things which they don't necessarily want to hear. Certainly all of us as parents know that there are situations where we have to tell our children things about what's right and what's wrong that are really difficult and create, really difficult situations that we'd much rather stay away from. But we know that our job as parents is to guide them in the right way, and that means saying no sometimes, and that means as rabbis also doing the same. As a famous statement about rabbis once was said, our job as rabbis is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comforted. And so both as a student, we have to love rebuke, and as a teacher, we have to learn that it's our job to rebuke. Of course, it's got to be done in a way which the other person can accept. If we're just yelling at them and screaming, we can't expect that they're going to be able to accept that and take it to heart in any meaningful way. It has to be given in such a way that they're going to be able to accept it. And so you have to know your audience and speak accordingly. But I think there's also one last idea here when it comes to acquiring wisdom. In psychology, there's an idea which is incredibly powerful. It teaches us that we will psychologically block out anything we learn which doesn't fit within our current worldview. So when we look at our world and we see how sectarian it's become, it's not just because Republicans only listen to Fox News and Democrats only watch CNN. It's more than that, although that's part of the problem, is that we're selecting only to listen to news sources which fit our already accepted ideology. But more than that, even if we were to come across something on the channel we're watching which disagrees or disproves our current worldview, we tend to do away with it. We tend not to let it penetrate our minds. We have a certain cognitive dissonance when it comes to information which doesn't fit within our worldview or the way that we see things. And we just disavow ourselves of that information, or more likely, we don't even allow it to enter. It's something which happens completely subconsciously and we're not aware of it. But next time you're reading an article that you disagree with, see how quickly your mind shuts the book on that idea and doesn't allow it to penetrate. This is a normal psychological phenomena that happens to all of us. Well, imagine if you want to be wise and you're studying a piece of Torah, and let's say that piece of Torah is something which is uncomfortable to you, or let's say it teaches a certain law or a certain lesson which up until now you have felt differently about. Our natural way of studying is that we'll just sort of quickly move on, pretending as if what we just learned wasn't there. And we won't think of ourselves as having any deficiency in Torah study. We'll just think, well, okay, whatever. Let's just move on to the next subject. But the point is, to be wise means to be able to absorb everything that you're studying. Things that agree with your worldview and things that disagree. Things that challenge your worldview. And so, ohevet tochachos, loving rebuke, means to say things which rebuke your current ways of thinking, things which rebuke your ideologies or your thoughts about certain things. If you want to be wise, then you have to be able to expand your worldview. And that only comes from being open to different perspectives. We don't normally think about rebuke in such an expansive way, but I think that it's included in this. And it's our job as we study Torah to learn a piece of Torah that we're uncomfortable with, and to not just push past it, but to try to work on really absorbing it and understanding it, and then applying it, and not just very easily just pushing it to the side because it doesn't conform with our current worldview. All right, everybody. Way number 35. Ohev es hatochos, love rebuke.